Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy to see everybody today. Happy to be here today. It outside is quite icy.
It is
It was
treacherous.
treacherous. Yeah, the roads were fine. Walking to the car, less so.
Yeah.
So, thanks for joining us with this morning. Hope that you are somewhere less slip and slidey and a little bit safer to traverse. But yeah, I don't know.
We're going to talk about, hopefully, familiar stories.
Yeah, because, when you like a story a lot, or like when people like a story a lot, it tends to get rewritten 5 million times.
Especially once those stories have entered the public domain.
That's helpful.
And they're available for anyone to retell, fracture, break apart,
Yep.
switcheroo.
So we're doing retellings, fractured fairy tales, if you will. I think we talked about like mythology retellings before, and there's a little bit of a touch on those too, but kind of like a little bit more legends, fairy tales, all that good nonsense. Because there's something about those stories. Like there's a reason why they've kind of lasted forever. There's like a history to them. Sort of like a nostalgia to them too, and sort of like, I don't know, like an everlasting kind of lesson, I guess.
Yeah, and a lot of them are like, here are the main components, but because the originals sometimes don't have a lot of those details, there's a lot of spaces to fill in with the details and to decide what were these characters' motives, or like for a story that maybe you grew up thinking that makes no sense. Why would a child believe a wolf is her grandma?
We'll get to that very shortly.
Maybe there's an explanation. And I feel like a lot of them are authors being like, this never made sense to me, so let me write it in a way that does make sense.
Yeah, or like you have such a love for the stories yourself that like you kind of want to take some time in that world and just kind of live in it a little bit more.
Expand the characters and their world.
Yeah, because the original content is like its own thing, which is grand, but there's only so much of it.
Yeah.
And then the retellings really kind of just carry it on, and those inspire more and inspire more. Yeah, right? The Little Red Riding Hood, like, never made sense, right? So, for instance, I think that you would relate immediately to the first person who wrote into this book. This book is called The Fairy Tale Fan Club, Legendary Letters Collected by C.C. Cecily. So CCC. C.C. Cecily.
Okay.
So
CC.
I found this yesterday, and this is what spurred on this entire theme. So this is C.C. Cecily. Cecily? Who knows? CCC. Had collected all of the different letters that fans of the fairy tale characters had written in, and had gone out of her way to get those fairy tale characters to respond and explain where they were coming from. So the first letter, just to give you an example, the first letter is from Ira, addressed to Little Red Riding Hood, where she says, "Dear Little Red Riding Hood, how can you be swallowed by a wolf and survive? Also, how is it possible to mistake a wolf for an old woman?" And she just keeps on asking some questions. And then Little Red Riding Hood actually responds, which is my favorite part, with, "Dear Ira, thank you for your letter inquiring after my health. I am fine now. Although I have no wish to be swallowed again, I can understand that some of the things didn't sound realistic. Why, you ask, couldn't I tell the difference between my grandmother and a wolf? Well, perhaps you've never seen my grandmother. She's rather hairy, and she likes to chase sheep."
There you go.
And she's got really long nails, and she kind of drools and howls a lot, and frequently, opens tin cans with her teeth, which is not bad, seeing as how she just turned 96. So there's our answers, right there in written words, our explanation for why that didn't make sense. I love the caption on the bottom, which is "Grandmother in happier times before the wolf attack." So this book has a ton of Like, there's the Emperor from the Emperor's New Clothes, the Little Mermaid, Hansel and Gretel. So all of these, like, notes that have been written in sort of to, like, a ask advice column, I guess, but sort of just like, hey, notes to the author, what's with this nonsense? There's one to the Big Bad Wolf. Like, it's funny. Like, it's hilarious.
It takes a pretty direct approach to, like,
yeah,
these stories don't make literal sense.
right. So you can actually find this book in our children's section. It is one of the new ones. I found it yesterday just looking about, and fell in love with it instantaneously. Yeah, the sass is fantastic across the board. And, like, you might be an adult going, like, what if, but, like, I'm an adult and, like, I shouldn't have to read, like, children books, or, like, I'm too old for... Why would you deprive yourself of such joy? Like, why do kids get all the goods? Like, why do they get all the fun? They shouldn't, because this is hilarious. Like, there's a Humpty Dumpty. Oh my gosh, the illustration of Humpty Dumpty. Hold on.
Oh.
Look at him. It's a cracked egg with, like, pantalones. Like, I love it. So, yeah, I had to talk about it. I had to share this book with you all. I had to. So, now that's how we got our theme.
Very sweet.
Yes,
Very cute.
indeed.
That one
Yeah.
is downstairs, right?
It
in
is,
our
yeah.
children's department.
Again, the Fairy Tale Fan Club, written by Richard Ayoade, I'm guessing. No idea. But apparently collected by C.C. Cecily.
So, an option, if you're like, that's maybe a little too silly. I
too
do want to do the fairy tales.
I don't understand.
But I want something written for adults specifically. So I have How to Fracture a Fairy Tale. So these are all different fairy tales written by Jane Yolen, and I wanted to particularly highlight her because she is a prolific
Yes.
author of retellings and her own original tales. Like, this is
Here's the list.
also by. So you can see it's tiny font, but that's all the different things she's written.
There are many, which, I mean, if you want to go through her books, congratulations. We got them all in one spot.
Yeah. But yeah, a lot of her novels are retellings or fractured fairy tales. And I do have another one of hers that I'll talk about later. But these are all, like I said, shorter stories. And so it's got the list of what they are. And then, so after she tells the stories, there's notes on how I fractured these stories.
Oh, that's
So basically,
cool.
she's like, okay, I had this story of, what is one of them? Cinder Elephant. So a Cinderella retelling, what can we include in there? An elephant. But yeah, then notes of, like, what she pulled in, how she changed things, and yeah, just kind of her process.
That's cool. So it's like a book with commentary.
Yes.
I love
So
that.
she breaks open the classics to reveal their secrets. Each of these offerings features a new author note and an original poem illuminating tales that are old, new, and brilliantly refined.
That's cool. Is it in fantasy? Or,
Yes.
all right,
We have
so
it
that
shelved
one's
in
in fantasy.
as short stories.
I love it.
Yeah, so
I love it a lot.
Sometimes these things are in nonfiction. 'Cause
Yeah.
they're more like about the writing, but
Right, yeah. Because it could kind of go either way.
yeah,
It's sort of like, you ever watch the commentary in movies?
yeah.
Love doing that. It's so fun. I would love to give you a list of some of the best commentaries I've ever listened to. But, like, this is sort of like having commentary while you're reading the story, which is kind of fun, honestly.
Yeah.
So
Cinder Elephant began as a companion piece to Sleeping Ugly. The editor turned it down because some worried it might hurt the feelings of children.
Sleeping Ugly? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, where she got the ideas and what she decided to do.
That's fun. I love it. No, give it back. I want that. I'm checking it out later. I will read that one. Hooray. Let's see. What can we do? So there's like a ton of different kinds of retellings. I guess you go from like one kind of shorts. Here's my connection. That one was short stories. This is based off of, this is The Wrath and the Dawn. And it is based off of Scheherazade, who is the main character of the 1001 Nights, the Arabian Tales, which is a massive collection of fairy tales and like short stories and stuff. I personally have read half of that book.
That is wild.
I started in high school. Every so often I read a little bit more. Yeah. But that's like where we get Aladdin and the Genie and Sinbad and, you know, all of a ton of stories and like all of those like wish stories where everything goes horrifically wrong. That's kind of where it all started out. So it's so it's weird. So in 1001 Nights, there is a king who his wife betrayed him and he had her end. But he's like, but I can't be without a wife for a single night. So, but also,
and yet I cannot trust any women.
So every morning I'm gonna marry a lady, and then have that nighttime, and then in the morning kill her, and then marry a new lady. So Scheherazade was the daughter of one of his advisors, and he's like,
there are no more women.
Yeah,
there are no more single unmarried women.
All of the single ladies are no longer single. They're either married real quick to somebody else, or they have married the king very shortly. Because there's no divorce, just widowing.
Just death.
Just death. It's wild. Anyway, Scheherazade is like, I'm going to marry that guy. And her dad's like, no, please don't. It's a bad plan. And she's like, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. So she marries him, and then that night she's like, let me tell you a story. And she starts to tell the story, but she doesn't finish it. She leaves it like, oh, sorry, I'm so tired. Like, that's the end. Like, and he's like, no, you have to tell me the rest of the story. And she's like,
I'm falling asleep.
I'm so tired. And she's like, I'll tell it to you tomorrow night. And he keeps her alive that night so that he can find the ending. And then, so she finishes the story the next day, and then, but it leads into another one. Yeah. So, like, there's, in that story, a character starts telling a story. So you get, like, 5 stories deep, and then you...
story inception. Like,
it's full story inception.
The whole story is framed by Scheherazade and telling these stories. But then the stories she tells lead to tiny... It's nesting dolls.
It's nesting dolls of stories. Which is why the original story, or, like, the original book of 1001 Nights is...
massive.
It's a chunk.
Every 1001 Nights.
It's huge. It takes you that long to read it, I swear. Or longer, because I've not finished it. Yeah. I've not been consistently just reading it. It's just, I pick it up when I do. But boy, is that a pretty... Anyway, getting distracted. So this is about that. So I do think her name is also...
I think is it Scheherazade?
Yeah, Scheherazade.
Yeah.
So it is Scheherazade. Hey, look, there she is. They illustrated her. Woo. And it is the same kind of setting. And obviously, over the course of her kind of like stalling the death sentence, he falls for her, and but add in kingdom problems, and you know, there's many times where she has the opportunity to betray him and kill him, but she doesn't, and he kind of starts to figure that out, and there's definitely fantasy elements to it. There's a little bit of magic that throws into this sort of thing, and there's certainly people who are like, hey, you are in a particular position to assassinate this king who is killing all of our women.
And then it has killed her friend, right? Isn't that like the inciting thing? She's like, oh, I'm going to go kill this guy.
Yeah, her dearest friend falls victim to him. Yeah. And she herself vows vengeance and volunteers to be his next bride. But, you know, her plans did not go the way that she thought, and his plans also did not go the way that he thought. And there's a sequel, so if that doesn't tell you anything.
Look, it's the power of stories.
It really is. But I kind of like a story that's revolving around stories, that's connected to stories, and then like just somebody who's so good at telling them where they get distracted, and also the person that is also like, well, I guess I'll put aside my murderous intent so that I can find out how the story is. So I like it. It's fun.
So I have 2 that are similar there, which are like stories within stories, stories about stories. One is a graphic novel, The Magic Fish.
Yes.
So you can see some of the art, and it's, I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll tell you why the art is how it is. So
apparently there's a reason for the art.
A boy and his mother, and every night he will tell her.
The computer in general
Just
is like,
wait.
I wish to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, buddy. You need to hold on for about 40 minutes.
40 minutes.
40 minutes, and then we should be fine. Poor guy. Apparently. All right, so
We're back.
I think we are back. We should be fine. Probably. One hopes. Carry on.
Just hold on to the magic fish.
Just go.
All right, so he is telling his mother a story. Welcome back.
Hi.
Telling his mother a story, a fairy tale each night, as a way for her to practice her English. And so these are like familiar fairy tales to him as a child growing up in the United States, but not to her.
Right.
And each fairy tale, he's getting closer and closer to trying to tell her that he's gay.
Yeah.
And he's hoping that, like, with each new fairy tale, he will have the language to explain it to her in English. And I can't remember, so they're Vietnamese, and I can't remember, like, if his knowledge of the Vietnamese language and her knowledge of the English language, like, neither of them have enough to be able to talk about the nuances.
Yeah, or I think there's like some things about like he doesn't have the language to explain his experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, they're struggling with that. So
Yeah.
I think they're using the stories to
Right.
kind of
To talk about,
to express his point of view
Yeah.
on stuff.
you know, he'll tell her a romantic one, ask her about love, has she ever felt love, and he gets closer and closer to like himself being able to voice it. So the like reddish tones are him living in reality, and you kind of see him interacting with his mother, interacting with friends at school, and then when the colors change, so into like this blue, that's a fairy tale.
Oh, that's cool.
And I believe there's like some are green, some are yellow. So it kind of is a
Oh yeah, and there's
That,
somewhere I saw somewhere there's like a little bit of
yes
red in the blue.
So you can see the
There we go.
fairy tale.
So it's like that's almost communicating in.
Yes.
Like, oh, we're getting some connection here. Or we're able to relate this a little bit easier. Oh yeah, there's a yellow one. So I think that's probably like a memory.
Yeah, but you can kind of, based on the colors,
That's really neat.
helps with the framing of the story.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that one's very cute.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
Oh, that's
And then I have Haroon and the Sea of Stories. This is one of probably very many covers that this book has, by Salman Rushdie. And this is one of his children's books, which we actually have in adult, because I feel like mostly adults do read it. But it's about a kid who is trying to save, or his father has storytelling powers, so he's trying to save the poisoned source of the Sea of Stories itself.
Ooh, fun.
But once you're in the Sea of Stories, you are hearing many different stories. So yeah, if you like a collection of stories, and with the framing device of like a child going on an adventure to help a parent, basically.
Right.
So yeah, this one's good. This one's a lot of fun. It is meant, I think he wrote it for children. It is a children's story, but there's so many layers to this one. It reads very like literary.
Okay.
There are a lot of like
Probably why it is shelved in adult.
and, yeah, adult fantasy.
But yeah, it's also Penguin Drop Cap. Okay, yeah. Just looking at it, I think this would probably be a really good one if you're reading to a kiddo.
Yes.
Sort of like the grandpa from Princess Bride.
Content-wise, it is totally fine for a child to hear, but it is, it's novel length, and it's all words.
It's
so
fairly smallish too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. A good like bridging the gap one. It's a pretty little book too.
Pretty little one.
Yeah. That's like one of those you would want to collect on your bookshelf just so that you can be like, look at the gorgeous books that I possess.
Yes.
All this fun will come to no good. What's the use of stories that aren't even true? That's what's on the back.
It's really about the power of stories. Like at the end of it, the whole thing is
I mean, that sold me right there.
What do stories mean? What
We
can
love
stories
stories.
do? What does it mean if the stories you tell are poisoned? In this, it's like a literal sea.
Yeah.
But of course.
These are like my favorite kind of books, like as an item, because they're small enough I can fit them in a pocket.
Yeah.
And walk around with them. It just brings me a particular sort of joy. Pocket books.
All right, should we talk about some more novel-length retellings? Since we kind of covered all of our short stories.
Yeah. Okay, where do we start? I guess
Let's start with your collection up there.
Collection of books that have a similar theme.
Yeah.
I really love King Arthur stories. One of my favorite series is like the Squire's Tales. And each book kind of like focuses around a different one of the Knights of the Round Table. These are all Arthurian inspired, and all quite different in their own way. You have the Guinevere deception. So Guinevere is, to the original Arthurian stories, Guinevere is the queen that King Arthur marries, so he marries her, and she is the queen. And she and Sir Lancelot get along a little bit too well. But this is Princess Guinevere comes to Camelot. She meets the strange King Arthur. There's a lot of magic. There's the wizard Merlin and all of these things that are just kind of like sort of hovering over Camelot, the famous city, and like things that are just like on the tipping scales of about to fall into fail. But turns out Guinevere is not Guinevere. Her true identity is a secret. She is actually a changeling.
Oh.
So
Okay.
she's lying.
Yeah.
But she's like, I'm giving up absolutely everything to try and save Camelot. It is imperative that I do so. But she has to keep her true identity a secret. And her true identity is something that people would kill her for. So it is intense. The back says, there's nothing in the world as magical and terrifying as a girl. So she is on a mission, and she's not going to let anything stop her. The cover, though, it is dark, and that's the thing. It is dark, and you got, like, those shimmers of gold to it. It's sort of, like, just flashes of, like, her true intentions, I think. If you like your dark fantasy, this is a good one for you. We also have Cursed. This is, more of a standard King Arthur story, but what if the sword chose a queen instead? So what would happen then? So Nimue is usually the one who kind of gives the sword to King Arthur. But what if she holds on to it herself? This is, if you look at the little circle, this is I think a Netflix series as well. But what's really cool about this one in particular is it's got these great illustrations sprinkled throughout. And they just they're so heavy hitting.
Yeah, Frank Miller.
There you go. So I'm trying to find another one that's really cool. So contemplative-y.
Very stark.
Yeah, very strong imagery.
Contrasting.
Which kind of also shows you the tone of this. Mm-hmm. There's every so often you've got some colored illustrations in here too. There's just lots of content in this. This book just screams lore. It's got, that's a pretty one.
Pretty.
That's a nice one. So, it's going to have a different tone. So a little bit gender bent, but also these are established characters, mm-hmm. and the king is something different. This one, I've not read this one yet, but I am very interested. This is by Lev Grossman, who wrote the Magician's Trilogy, mm-hmm. Which was also turned into a show, and you are allowed to have opinions about that and how that show went. Yeah. So with Cursed, it is all on Netflix. It's also called Cursed. I've not seen it yet. I do intend to, though. So this one is The Bright Sword, And this is, so a knight comes to Camelot, and he finds that Camelot, he's like, I want to go to Camelot, I want to become a knight, I, want to serve King Arthur. Oh no, he died 2 weeks ago. Uh-oh. And the survivors of that horrible battle are, it's not like the legendary Lancelot or Gawain, who are just, the top-tier knights. Nope, we got the goofballs, Sir Dagonet and Palomides and, the one jester that was knighted as a joke, uh-oh. And also, Nimue has betrayed Merlin, and uh-oh. So they're trying to pick up the pieces and keep on going. It is a chonker of a book, but there's going to be a lot of lore and a lot of political back and forth and just big portions of stories. This is one of those books where it's separated out into book 3, book 1, and then it's focusing on that particular portion of the story, and then book 2, and
that was an audiobook. What is that one called?
The Bright Sword. I bet it's an audiobook. I bet it'd be a great one.
It is.
That's a great question.
The Bright Sword.
Yeah. The reviews on these are for anyone who's ever craved a seat at the round table, utterly enchanting. And this one is, if you love King Arthur as much as I do, you'll love Lev Grossman's The Bright Sword, a fresh and engrossing take on the matter of Britain, featuring a colorful cast of round table knights who don't often get as much story time as they deserve. And that was by George R.R. Martin, who wrote Game of Thrones and is still writing Game of Thrones.
Or maybe he's given up.
So he claims.
Yeah, this one we do have on Libby as both an ebook and an audiobook.
How long is the ebook?
The audiobook?
Yeah, that's it.
23 hours.
All right, so that's a day.
Yeah, it's a day.
Start now, and you'll be finished.
I'm thinking
by this time tomorrow.
As a fairy tale, sometimes I just want a little bit. Mm-hmm. So you could read over the course of a month.
Yeah,
just
it's basically a narrative podcast.
Yeah.
That's how that goes. And hey, we talked about it before in our listen up ones. You speed up that sound, that listening speed.
Most people go to at least 1.2.
Yeah, and you
1.25.
You can whittle out something that big. You can knock off a whole hour. Look at you.
Yeah.
You speed reader. Look at you speed reading.
That is something where if you're into that world, you want it to be that long. Mm-hmm. You want to stay in that world.
Yeah. And this is,
I know nothing about it, so
this is an author. This is an author who is very good at world building.
Yeah.
And creating a really cool, unique space that solid's true to it. Oh, it's a chonky boy.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely. Yeah, I'm putting the audiobook on my list because I bet it's really good. This author knows what's up.
I am going to talk about a fairy tale by Jane Yolen, one of her novel-length ones that she has set, not contemporary, but she turned it into historical fiction. So this is Briar Rose. It's obviously comes from Briar Rose's Sleeping Beauty, Aurora in the Disney. So she has taken the story, still has some fantastical elements, but she has set it during World War II. Briar Rose is now living in the forests that are occupied, that are German occupied. And she's not just hiding away so that she doesn't prick her finger on her 16th birthday. She's hiding away from the German soldiers.
Yikes. Okay. That's a different shift.
It's very different. It's where some of these are dark fantasy, this one's just dark historical.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's a mixture of historical in there. So, that makes it I'm not sure if I like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it feels a little too real.
It feels very real, and I think what she did here is, like, a lot of times, like, the twist will be like, oh, we flipped the gender, or what if some other fantastical thing, and here the connection is, like, not clear. You're like, wait, I would not have thought to put Sleeping Beauty set during the Holocaust.
Yeah.
Which is like, tell me more. How did you do it? Because I will say she does a good job of it.
Yeah.
It works. It works as a historical fiction, I believe.
I mean, I think that would pair really well with this, because you would,
with her fracture.
if you like read this, or if you're interested in like how that's connected, you might want to like start here and like get a taste of like her style of how she picks those things together, and then see how it's connected here. And you might like, I don't know, it might be a fun way to appreciate it in a different way.
Yeah. So, and this one's older. Copyright 1992. So yeah, this one's like 30 some, over 30 years old. But I read this one for library school, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, and it is one that is still recommended for adults, and I would give it to a high schooler as well.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's fair.
Especially a student who is like gone through history class, learned about World War II. I feel like this would be a fun addition to that.
Yeah. We're getting some commentary in the chat about King Arthur stories and how the best Disney Channel original movie was around, or one of the best.
Which one was that?
Which one was that?
Because all I could think of for King
like,
Arthur is the animated Sword in the Stone.
Yeah, I don't think it was that one.
That's not
I
an
know
original, a Disney Channel original.
there's like so many movies.
There's also the
there was like the gritty historical King Arthur one that I loved, Avalon High. I've never seen that one.
Seen Avalon High.
Uh-oh. Are we showing our age? Uh-oh.
Maybe.
It may be.
Because when you say Disney Channel
Look at the
original
youth.
movie, I'm thinking Xenon.
Oh yeah, right. Like that's top tier
thinking
for me.
Smart House.
Halloween Town, Smart House was so good. Blank Check wasn't, but it was like it wasn't a channel movie, but it was like around there. Anyway, we could get off on that for a long while. All right, so check out Avalon High, because now I'm gonna have to. Otherwise, somebody will be upset at me. Apparently. I'm sorry, but thanks for showing about it. All right, so you had like a historical twist on yours. This is a historical twist as well. So this is Boudica by PC Cast, who is, I picked it up because it's PC Cast. PC Cast is also quite a prolific writer. They know what they're about. But Boudica this is actually a historical figure. But a lot of her story kind of has fallen into mythology, I would say. Oh yeah, so somebody's definitely picking up and reading some Briar Rose. Good.
History buffs.
Yeah, I think if you're more tuned towards like nonfiction, that might be a good one to go through. This one, maybe as well. So Boudica she was rather a Celtic, I believe, kind of like early Irish-ish. No, British. Oh man, I'm gonna have so many people just ready for my head right there with that one. So she was a queen that was, she came to power when Rome was occupying Britain, and she fought against the Romans. The Romans kind of came in and just destroyed everything around her. And historically speaking, the story rolls that Boudica just came in. She took her daughter, or her daughters. She and her daughters just laid waste. Like, they went through and with a absolute furious vengeance just totaled as much as they could do. And they eventually were killed themselves, but they took down as many Romans as they possibly could. There are statues of this woman, literally. But exactly how things worked and exactly how things happened weren't really recorded. So a lot of it kind of has become myth and legend and story. So this is a retelling of that. More specifically, that so you're following Boudica. There's also Addison, who is a Roman tax collector, who was totally expecting a weak female ruler and thoroughly was incorrect. And you also have Boudica's childhood friend Ron, who is now a powerful druid seer. And also you have a horse master, Caddick, whose devotion to Boudica runs deeper than a warrior to a queen. Woo! And so the druid seer has seen into the future, and she's like, uh-oh, Boudica's gonna die. We can't let that happen. So they're going to work together and try and save this. So does it end out that will she be saved? Will she be betrayed, as I think she was originally in like the histories? We don't know. It is new. I saw this yesterday as well. Like the covers, like, look at her. She's so cool.
She's a cultural symbol in Britain.
Yes. She is honestly incredibly cool, and I will be picking this one up too. So it'll be there.
Quite the Wikipedia as well.
Oh, so. She does. Yeah, she's a figure for sure. You've got that stack of 3 that look very similar.
We're going to talk about these 3 together, and I'm going to tie it into yours because there's a brand new one coming out in this meant to be romance series. So there are 5. There will be 5 once the last one comes out. The last one is called, what is it called?
Notes.
Worth Fighting For.
Oh, love it.
It is a Mulan retelling.
I was gonna say, is it a Mulan retelling?
Yes. So, historical figure who has been mythologized and retold, most popularly by Disney. Meant to be will make her story contemporary, and it's not a war she's fighting, but it's like a business transaction, and her father is like too sick to be like the face of the business, I believe it is. So she is going to step in, but like kind of keep the family name at the front, so that it's not like his daughter. It's nice. Anyways, that's coming out in June, so we don't have that one yet. And we also don't have the second one because it's at my house right now because I'm reading it. That one's called By the Book. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, contemporary retelling.
I love that for you.
And in that one, so Isabel is a book editor, and they have a celebrity who is not seen in public very much, who is supposed to be writing a memoir for her publishing company that she works for. She's like, you know what? I'll just go to his house, knock on his door and say, what's going on? Where's your memoir? Where's your manuscript? I need it on my editor's desk. And so she does. And, she falls in love with him. But the 3 that we do have here, and I have read this first one, If the Shoe Fits. So that's our Cinderella retelling. It's Cinderella, but what if Cinderella is the main character in a Bachelorette type reality TV series?
That's cute.
So yeah, she has a wealth of suitors to choose from, and the series is called Before Midnight. So there are a lot of like fun Cinderella Easter eggs in there. We also have Kiss the Girl.
Wonder what that one's about.
That's our Little Mermaid one, which I will be reading in May.
Yeah. Oh, see, you're timing it.
Yes.
Right.
So Ariel Del Mar, one of the most famous singers in the world. She and her sisters are known as the band Siren 7. They've been a pop culture phenomenon. And so on stage, she like wears a red wig. Like she has like a persona. Anyone would think she's the girl who has everything, but lately she wants more. She's like sneaking off and becomes the anonymous merch girl for an up-and-coming band fronted by a dreamy lead singer.
Love it. Good.
So yeah, this is a contemporary retelling of The Little Mermaid. Excited for that one.
Yeah, that's fun.
And then we have Tangled Up in You.
Wonder what that one's about.
Yes,
I wonder.
So cute. Ren has never held an iPhone, Googled the answer to a question, or followed a crush on social media. What she has done: read a book or 2 or 3. taught herself to paint, built a working wind power system from scratch. But for all the books she's read, she's never found one that can teach a woman raised on a homestead and off the grid for most of her 22 years how to live in the real world.
Nice.
And then she does.
Yeah, and then she does. So these are all...
She needs fits.
So are all of these, like, standalones, or do
These are all so far standalones.
So you can read them in, like, any order.
You can read them in any order. They are all by different authors, which I think is cool.
Yeah, because, like, Zoraida Cordova, if I said that right. Did I say that right? Cordova. So she wrote the Brooklyn Brew House. So the first book is Labyrinth Lost. I have personally met her. She's lovely. Like... so, like, that's exciting that, like, oh, look what you did.
And this is by Julie Murphy. So she is puddin', pumpkin, like that.
Dumplin',
those
are very
I think
fun.
Was the first one.
Very funny.
Yes, and has also written other adult romances. Christina Lauren, I believe, is, like, adult romance is what she does.
Mm-hmm.
And by the book is Jasmine Guillory, who I think is another adult romance writer. The Mulan one is Jessie Q Sutanto, who is, I believe she's Chinese-Indonesian author. Again, she has written romance and I believe adult crime. So yeah, these are all, like, fairly well-known authors for, like, in their buckets. And yeah,
this is cool. So Christina Lauren is actually a combined pen name for writing partners and best friends Christina Hobbs and Lauren Billings.
That's cute.
So, like, look at them, they're right there.
Okay, well, together as Christina Lauren, they do have quite the catalog.
Yeah, they did the Unhoneymooners, Love and Other Words, The Soulmate Equation, Something Wilder, The True Love Experiment. I've heard that one.
Yeah.
So.
But this is just like if again, you're not sure about fairy tales, but you're a romance reader, I would recommend these. They're all contemporary, but have, like, fun little ties in, specifically to the Disney versions of these stories. This is Disney imprint.
Yeah. I was going to ask if they were connected like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that just makes it more fun. And it's like everybody kind of is more familiar with those stories than, like, she dissolves into sea foam.
Look, that's my favorite part. But,
You're a true fan.
Yeah. What else was I going to say about those? Oh, they're adult romance, but I would say they are pretty tame, spice-wise. There's kissing.
Yeah. That's good to know.
But from what I've read so far, the spice level is, For adults, I would definitely give it to a high schooler who's interested in romance.
They do look all very good on a shelf together, but these are shelved separately by the author.
By the author's last name.
So that's how you can find them. He's good. So this one is it's possible we talked about this one before. I don't remember. Anyway, here's the Sunbearer Trials. So this is we do so many book talks that I don't remember where we did what. So this is based on I think Aztec and Mexican mythology. So that's very fun. So how this works is every decade the sun needs to replenish the power to Sol to keep the sun traveling across the sky. So in order to do that, Sol, who I think is like both the sun and like the sun god and what have you, Sol basically is like selects I think 10 of the most semi-dioses, which is demigods, and has them compete in the Sunbearer Trials, which is a series of trials, and to see who is going to be basically the guardian of Sol and to like bring the light over, which is a very treacherous and dangerous thing, and it kind of requires the best of the best of the best. So it reminds me a little bit of like in the Hunger Games, you have like District 1 and District 2 are like the strongest and most prepared. They trained for this, and then like the lower districts are like kind of there. In this case, there's definitely like the demigods, the semi-dioses who like everybody's like, oh, they're absolutely, they're the more powerful ones. Their parenthood is the more powerful parenthoods, and they train for it the whole entire time. Well, this time, 2 of the ones who are selected are the son of the goddess of birds, who is not well known for being particularly, strong birds. So that's our character there. As well as there's another one who, trying to find it. I'm looking to try and find. Oh yeah, and then the other one is the child of the god of bad luck.
Okay.
And they kind of are just like, we don't belong here. What do we do? And everyone else is like, you don't belong here. You're going down. So they have to team up and try and figure it out.
So we've got like mythology, Hunger Games.
A little bit Hunger Games, mythology, except it's not like I guess you're kind of forced to participate because like Soul has been like, you.
Yeah.
And you're like, no.
Chosen one.
But mostly the ones who are selected are genuinely like the most powerful ones. So it's a shock to everyone that these 2 were included in this way. So
cute.
Yeah.
And that's YA fiction?
It is
fantasy?
YA fantasy. The cover is pretty. Give it a try. I mean, we all know how these things go anyway. But who's to say that the journey getting there ain't a good time?
Yeah.
So, woo.
Cool. I'll talk about my YA fantasy.
Yeah, I think we got time for one each. So go for it.
Wait, then I want to talk about this one.
All right, how about you do both of them? And then we'll just end there.
Well,
that's what we're doing.
This one's 12 Dancing Princesses. We'll just say that.
If you're not familiar with that one, it's like every night there's 12 princesses, they're all siblings.
They sleep
Which is
in
wild.
one room that their father locks.
Yep.
Every morning he comes in and their slippers are worn out.
Yep.
Have you been dancing all night?
Yeah, who have you been dancing with? I don't want you to know, boys.
I will. This is one of those where it's like, this story makes no sense. So the father's like, okay, if anyone wants to figure out where my daughters are going every night.
Even though I locked the door.
And
it's still locked.
in the morning, but their shoes are worn out.
And they're expensive. Shoes are expensive.
Yeah. Once you have 3 nights to figure it out, you will get the pick of my daughters to marry.
Right.
And if you don't figure it out, I'll kill you.
There's always that too. It's like motivation.
So this is happening until one suitor is able to like sneak and like figure out a way to follow them. Turns out there's a trapdoor. They're going into this like enchanted forest and dancing all night.
Yeah.
And then they come back and he takes little tokens from the trees and shows the father as proof of like, I've followed them, they're dancing. And then he marries the oldest one. It's one of those where you're like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
So in this one, we have sisters who the situation is happening, but the oldest ones start dying mysteriously. And so the father's like, oh, we got to figure this out. What is going on? Why are my children dying? What's going on with your shoes? Like, we are being financially ruined by the amount of shoes I'm buying for this family.
And also my daughters are dead.
Yeah. And so, again, Suitor is able to, like, figure it out, but it more so with the help of, the main character, who is Anna Lee. So we follow one of the daughters more specifically, and she, of course, wants to figure out what has happened to her sisters, and she doesn't know what is happening to her at night either. They're basically, like, under a spell.
Yeah.
So you do find out. So it does follow the main points of the story, but gives a little bit more explanation, takes it a little darker. There are ghosts involved. There are curses and gods and things like that. So it turns it into a dark romantic fantasy tale, but has the familiarity of 12 Dancing Princesses.
That's fun. This one's on my reading list. So.
Yeah, I like it. And there is a follow-up, which is more of like a gothic greenhouse mystery retelling.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Cool.
It's dark.
It's dark.
And then I have The Snow Child, which is a retelling of The Snow Child, or The Snow Maiden. I believe it is more commonly known as.
What is that? I don't know that one.
I believe it is Russian.
Okay.
But this one is set in 1920s Alaska. But it's basically about a couple who wants a child so badly but is unable to have a child. And so they like make one out of snow and she comes to life. It's Frosty the Snowman.
All right, that's a little bit like Rumpelstiltskin. Because like they couldn't have a kiddo, so they kind of like made one by like stealing stuff from Rumpelstiltskin's garden. And then he kind of popped in and was like, "Bah, she's mine."
Wait, isn't that Rapunzel?
Okay, let's be fair. 90%.
They're all the same.
They're all the same.
There's like 5 fairy tales. But yes, so this is the overarching story is people want a child, they make one, it comes to life.
Right, okay.
It's the gingerbread
But
man.
in this particular flavor,
And
she's
this
made out
particular
of
one,
snow.
She's made out of snow. It is 1920s Alaska.
Ooh.
So they're like kind of isolated.
So nobody's like, how did you just magically get a child?
They are living in the wilderness. They form this child out of snow. They go to bed the next morning. The snow child is gone, but there are footsteps leading away from it. So it's a little spooky. But yeah, neither of them are willing to like be like, we wanted a kid so bad, and then we made one, and it, like they just like don't say anything. They're just like, well, what if we invite her in and make her some clothes and feed her, and now she's our child. Yeah.
Okay.
She's a little bit magical. They're like trying to be grateful that they now have this child, but they don't know how long she will last with them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, just
This one we have just in fiction, adult fiction, because there is this like magical element, but the story is more so about the parents and them like
are you
the process of them creating this child, having a child. What does it mean to have like made this child? And
okay? So it's not a horror.
it's not horror. It's not horror.
Are we sure?
No, it is eerie, maybe, but it's not horror.
So it's a little bit more speculative, I guess.
Yeah, magical realism,
Okay.
but with like a literary bent to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it is like there's a lot about the Alaskan wilderness and survival in
that would
Alaska. Like the way that they have to like make their home and feed themselves and hunt and things like that. So it's a good one for February. I know we don't really have like a snowy landscape outside right now, but
Right.
it
Well,
is a good
it's icy enough.
winter reading. Sad, but good.
Kind of a good one to like read now, and kind of like right at the end of like the seasonal doldrums, and then like spring shows up and you're just like, oh, I can breathe.
Yes. Yeah. But this author, Eowyn Ivey, has another book that's out like today. Like
Ooh.
it just came out, which is also a retelling, but I can't remember what of. But it's another like wintry tale. Yeah, she was raised in Alaska.
Oof. Okay, that's really cool. Neat. Yeah, and I think like Alaska is one of those where it's like, yeah, it's within our country.
It's
But
a whole other world.
Wholly
other
different in every single way.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's not something that a lot of us have experienced. So, kind of fun. All right, I think that's golden for now. Do we have more? Yeah.
Yeah, there's always more. There's
There's
so
always
many.
more.
Every time I go to look, I'm like, oh, that's that. Oh, that's that story. Okay.
We also had, there were so many where we were like, oh, we can talk. Already
We
talked
talked
about
about
that one. Already did that one. So much that
There
I
are
like.
5 stories.
Yeah.
That's it. There are just like 5 stories in this world.
Pretty much.
And nothing is original, and I feel like that's comforting.
Yeah, you know, there's, It's
That's
like,
good. Like, yes.
yeah, there's
There are
the
familiar stories.
apparently like can't have a child, make a child, and there's like how many like Romeo and Juliet retellings are there? Like so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one that we could just do again, and just keep on going and pull from so many different directions of different age levels and interest levels and all of that good stuff. Well, I think we're good for now, though. I think we're done talking about books for the next 5 minutes because we're librarians and we do that as well as many other things. So yeah, feel free to come on down and check out any of these books. And, or if, you're not local to the Addison Library, I hope you are, because it would be cool to see you. There we go. That's what we talked about today. It's not even the whole stack. That's kind of down there. It goes all the way down. But yeah, check out your local library and check out these books. Or, if you're like, some of those books are way too long to read. Like that one in particular. Audiobook, and enjoy those. I am currently listening to the Ghost City, which we talked about it the other day.
City of Ghosts?
That was it. City of Ghosts, which clearly
set in Edinburgh.
Set in Edinburgh, which is really fun. And it's just starting to pick up, but it's a lot shorter. And after that one's done, I'm going to have to get something else. Because the other ones that I have are currently on hold. And, I need to live in the space where all of my holds come in at the same time. Because that's how life is. All right. Have a great time. We'll see you next time. Stay warm. Beware the slippy ice. Thank you for joining us.
Bye.
Bye. See you next time.